The sun hadn't yet broken through the skyline when Alma Vasquez stepped into the pristine, glass-paneled lobby of Zenith Tech Corp. Her cleaning cart rattled softly against the polished marble, the sound swallowed quickly by the cathedral silence. Of the early morning, the air was cold, almost clinical-scented, with lemon disinfectant and ambition. Alma moved like she had for years measured, invisible. Her gray uniform was crisply pressed, shoes quiet, hair pinned back neatly. Every corner of this building better than most of the people working in it. Every fingerprint left on chrome elevator buttons. Every coffee ring on the glass boardroom table, she erased them all. Silently, diligently, she took the private elevator to the executive floor. Floor 47. No signs marked it, but everyone knew. It was where the real power sat. As the doors opened, Alma was met by a sterile hush and the soft hum of climate control. White walls, brushed steel, black leather chairs, everything calculated, everything cold. A junior associate passed her by with a nod that didn't quite reach his eyes. Another whispered to a colleague in hushed tones, their laughter clipped, glancing her way. She caught none of the words, but the cadence was familiar. She'd been around enough boardrooms and banks to recognize when she was the punchline. Still, she kept her head down and worked. A coffee spill in the corridor, a smudge on the corner conference room window. Quiet victories at precisely 7:48 a.m. The elevator chimed again. The doors parted to reveal Liam Darnell, expensive coat slung over his shoulder, tie loose, phone in hand. He walked like someone used to being watched. He didn't notice Alma until he nearly bumped into her. "Jesus," he said, recoiling. "Do you people just materialize out of nowhere?" Alma stepped aside, murmuring a quiet "sorry, sir," though the fault was not hers. Liam blinked at her voice. "What accent is that?" he asked louder now. "Let me guess, Guatemala." "Peru. One of those, right?" Alma froze, her cloth still in hand, pressed against a spotless surface. Around them a few suits had started to trickle in. None intervened. Some looked away. One chuckled under his breath. Liam smirked. "Don't worry. You're not here for conversation. Just, keep the place shining. We've got important people coming in today. Don't want any distractions." Words landed sharper than intended, but Liam had already turned away. Barking something into his phone, Alma stood motionless, cloth still in hand, eyes focused on a streak of light reflecting off the boardroom window. Her heart thudded not in shame, but in restraint. She had promised herself she wouldn't let them take her dignity. She exhaled slowly, smoothed her uniform, and kept cleaning. But as she wiped the final pane of glass, her reflection looked back at her differently. Not small, not silent. Something flickered in her eyes, and it didn't look like fear. Liam Darnell didn't notice the way his voice echoed when he entered a room. He assumed silence was the natural order his to fill, his to command. At 27, he was already vice president of strategy at Zenith Tech Corp, though no one ever mentioned the surname sewn into the building's legacy. Darnell and Darnell, father and son. He arrived late to most meetings, but always led them. His slides were sleek, his confidence louder than facts. Liam knew the buzzwords: optimization, synergy, market disruption, and he wore them like armor. He believed charm could excuse arrogance, and results could cover disrespect. Often they did. His father, Gregory Darnell, had never corrected him. "You've got teeth," he told Liam once over single malt. "The world won't give you anything unless you bite," so Liam bit. That morning, the one following his run-in with Alma, he was giving a pitch to international partners. The floor was spotless credit to someone, but not anyone who mattered in Liam's view. As he strutted into the glass conference room, spotted Alma in the corner, wiping the inside of a display cabinet. He frowned. "Why is the janitor still?" "Here," he asked, loud enough for the whole table to hear. Alma paused mid-wipe but didn't turn. Liam smirked and added, trying to impress the clients, "Huh? Maybe we can get you a suit next time. Give the place a real touch of class." A couple of chuckles floated around the room. One executive shifted uncomfortably. No one said a word. Alma placed the cloth back in her cart, slow, deliberate movements, She straightened up. Their eyes met briefly. Liam expected her to look away. She didn't. She gave a small, respectful nod to the table, then pushed her cart toward the exit. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss. Liam shrugged. Anyway, as I was saying, cue for projections. The clients nodded, polite but tight-lipped. The moment faded like dust in sunlight. Later, as the meeting ended and people filed out, the room buzzed about numbers and mergers, but not about the woman who had left it just moments earlier. No one asked who she was. No one questioned what he'd said in Liam. He didn't notice the silence that followed him down the corridor. He didn't see the intern in the corner who had watched the whole exchange. But Alma did. And as she stepped into the service elevator, she tightened her grip on the cart handle, aware, now more than ever, of who was really watching. The world was changing, quietly, and she wasn't done yet. The service elevator shuddered as it descended, each floor humming past like a reminder, down, down, down. Alma's fingers tightened around the cart's handle, knuckles pale beneath the cleaning gloves. Liam's voice echoed in her head, sharp and titled, and so familiar. By the time she stepped out into the basement loading dock, the sun had begun its descent. The world above would soon blink into gold and glass. But Alma would be home before then, tucked into the quiet hum of her own corner of the city. Her apartment was a third-story walk-up tucked behind a laundromat. It smelled faintly of cumin and lavender. The floors were scuffed, the walls uneven, but it was hers. She placed her keys on the hook, slipped off her shoes, and greeted the space the way one greets a memory. Books lined every shelf. Not self-help manuals or crime thrillers, but volumes of legal theory, civil rights histories, international policy marked up, highlighted, dog-eared with use. On the far wall hung a modest photo collage, an old newspaper clipping from her hometown, a candid shot of a younger Alma behind a podium, a picture of her late husband, hands lifted in protest, and in the bottom drawer of the old desk near the window, wrapped in brown paper, lay the thing she never displayed to her degree. Doctor of Juridical Science, Universidad de Bogotá, class of 1999. She unfolded it slowly as though it might disintegrate. The ink was still crisp. Her name, a longer, fuller name than what her ID now bore, sat proudly across the page. Alma Rocio Velázquez de Leon. The knock on her door startled her. Maya stepped inside without waiting. And blazer, backpack slung carelessly, dark curls haloed in humidity. "You didn't answer my texts," she said, again. Alma smiled softly. "I was cleaning, mi amor. I don't look at my phone during work." Maya sighed, then spotted the degree on the desk. "You took it out." Alma nodded. Only for a moment. Maya crossed the room, eyes on the paper. "Why do you let them think you're just some cleaning lady?" Alma's jaw tensed. "Because that's what they see." "No," Maya said firmly. "That's what you let them see." Silence settled between them. Alma looked away toward the window where the last light of day warmed the glass. "I fought once," Alma whispered. "I wrote laws, defended people who had no one. But we were threatened, watched. The night your father was arrested, they said I was next." Maya sat beside her. "You didn't come here to disappear?" "No," Alma said, eyes burning. "But disappearing is how I survived." Maya reached for her hand. "Maybe it's time to stop surviving, Mama. Maybe it's time to be seen." Alma looked back at the degree. For a moment she didn't see paper. She saw protests. She saw packed courtrooms. She saw her own voice echoing in chambers of power. Outside, a car honked in the distance. Inside, Alma folded the degree again, but slower this time. It's not in shame, in readiness, because someone had seen and someone, somewhere, had filmed. The video surfaced 3 days later, shot vertically, grainy, with the dull hum of fluorescent lights in the background, but the audio was unmistakable. "Do you people just materialize out of nowhere? Maybe we can get you a suit next." "Time. We've got important people coming in. Don't want any distractions." Liam's voice, crystal clear, smug, unfiltered. By noon, the clip had been viewed over 2.3 million times. At first, Alma didn't know it existed. Maya, who burst through the door holding her phone like it had caught fire. "Mama," she said breathlessly, "someone filmed it." Alma watched it once. Her lips parted slightly, not in shock, but in resignation. The world had finally seen what she lived every day. The intern who filmed it, Dante Kim, a 22-year-old rotational analyst, posted it anonymously with the caption, "This is how our VP treats the people who clean our success." He hadn't planned to go public, but silence gnawed at him. Watching Alma walk out of that room had done something to him. Within hours, hashtags surged. Hashtag stand with Alma. Hashtag cleaned out. News anchors debated it. Celebrities commented. Protesters showed up outside Zenith Tech HQ. The pressure built like steam behind glass. The company scrambled. Liam appeared at a press conference the next day, stiff in a navy suit, flanked by PR handlers. Cameras flashed like machine guns. "My comments were taken out of context," he said, reading from a teleprompter. "I regret the misunderstanding and apologize to the employee involved." Employee, not Alma. No name, no humanity. Just a liability to manage. Alma sat on her couch watching it unfold, her face lit by the cold glow of the screen. Maya stood behind her, arms crossed tight. "They're using you," Maya said. "Like you're just a headline to clean up." Alma said nothing. "They'll spin this, Mama, unless you speak." Alma's fingers trembled slightly. "And if I do, what then?" "Then you remind them who you are." Silence. Then Alma rose and walked to her desk. Slowly, deliberately, she unwrapped her degree and laid it flat. She stared at her name, at the years of silence she had carried like a second skin, at the woman she once was. Outside Zenith Tech's public relations machine whirred into overdrive donations, listening sessions, New Day initiatives. Inside, Alma stood in the center of her modest apartment, surrounded by books and memory. The world was watching now, but not for the apology, for the answer. And Alma, heart steady, voice still quiet, turned toward Maya and said, "Tell me where I need to be," because being seen was no longer enough. She was ready to be heard. The lecture hall at Eastbrook University buzzed with anticipation. Flyers had advertised a last-minute keynote titled "Voices in Exile: Law, Loss, and the Cost of Silence." The seats filled fast. Students, professors, alumni, and a small group of curious reporters crammed into the back rows. But only Maya knew the weight of what was about to unfold. Alma sat quietly in the front row, dressed in her best blouse and slacks, hands folded tightly in her lap. She believed Maya had invited her simply to attend, to support a panel on human rights. She had no idea the spotlight was waiting. Maya took the stage, her voice confident, if slightly quivering. "Thank you for being here. Today's keynote is not a professor. It's not a politician. She is someone whose courage outlasted borders." A ripple of confusion passed through the room. "She was a human rights lawyer in Colombia," Maya continued. "She defended women in domestic courts, testified before the Inter-American Commission, and authored legal reform still studied in Bogotá. She fled after threats against her family became death warrants. Led a life here not as a lawyer, but as a janitor." A sharp silence fell. "She is my mother, Alma Rocio Velázquez de Leon." Alma's head snapped up. Her breath caught. Maya turned to her, eyes filled with fierce pride. "Mama, come, please." Alma rose on shaking legs. She moved as if through fog, the crowd blurring around her. Applause began, hesitantly, then grew. A standing ovation met. Her at the steps, in the back row, half shielded by shadows. Liam sat motionless. His jaw slackened as realization swept through him. This was her? The woman he'd mocked, reduced, dismissed? The cleaning lady? No, not today. Alma reached the podium. Hands trembling, she gripped the sides to anchor herself. Microphone feedback buzzed briefly before silence reclaimed the room. "I have not spoken in public for nearly 10 years, she began, her accent strong but clear, "because silence is how I survived. But silence is not who I am." She paused. Her eyes scanned the room. I did not shrink. In my country, I was trained to speak for others. Here, I clean their footprints from glass. A murmur rippled. I do not say this to shame the work. I say this to expose the world that cannot see people like me beyond the job we do. Racism does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers in boardrooms and nods in elevators. Eye contact. It apologizes only when caught. Her voice grew steadier. My name is Alma Rocio Velasquez de Leon. I am a mother, a survivor, and I will no longer be invisible. When she stepped down, the crowd surged to its feet. The applause rolled like thunder. Liam remained seated, unmoving. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to say. But, for once, he was listening, and somewhere deep within him, something shifted small. Uncertain, but real. A reckoning was coming. And Alma wouldn't be the one trembling. Liam stood in the doorway of his father's office. The one with the leather-bound walls and floor-to-ceiling windows that caught the city like prey in glass. Gregory Darnell didn't look up from his desk. You should have told me who she was, Liam said quietly. Gregory signed a document with the fluid confidence of a man who'd never needed to second-guess himself. Who? The cleaning woman. Liam's jaw clenched. She's not just a cleaning woman. She is Alma Velasquez de Leon. Let me humiliate someone with a doctorate in law and decades of human rights work. Gregory finally looked up. So now you care about credentials? I care that I didn't see her, Liam said. Because no one around me ever expected me to. His father exhaled sharply, dismissive. The world doesn't give you time to look beneath surfaces. That's weakness. No, Liam replied. That's blindness. He turned and left. Without waiting for an answer? That evening, Alma opened her door to find Liam standing in the hallway, dressed plainly, no designer coat, no watch, no entourage. Just a man, uncertain and disarmed. I don't expect anything, he said. I just wanted to say something without cameras. She let him in, said nothing. The apartment felt smaller now, but warmer, familiar. Liam took a seat, fidgeting with his sleeves. I was taught to see people like you as ... roles. Background, not people. Alma sat across from him, unmoved. And now? Now I see I'm the one who was empty. A long pause. I want to make things right, he added. But no, that's not possible. She studied him, this man who had once spoken to her like she was less than furniture. Now, he looked smaller, not broken, but stripped. I forgave you, she said gently, the moment you looked at me like a human being. But forgiveness doesn't erase harm, he nodded. Then maybe justice begins with listening. She offered a slow nod, not approval. Recognition. The next morning, the Zenith Tech homepage was updated with a terse, direct press release. Effective immediately, Liam Darnell has resigned from his executive role. In his public statement, Mr. Darnell pledged to launch the Velasquez Scholarship Fund, a full-ride program for first-generation immigrants pursuing law and social justice. Some legacies are inherited, others are built. I know which one. I want to leave behind, he wrote. The statement didn't trend for long. Public attention had already turned elsewhere. But Alma saw it. She read it once. Then again, she didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply closed her laptop. Outside, her city moved as always, indifferent, electric. But inside, something settled. Not an ending, a clearing. And tomorrow, for the first time in years, she would return to Zenith Tech not as an employee. But as something far more powerful. 3 months had passed. The air inside Zenith Tech was different now. Not transformed, but shifting. The whispers were fewer. The eyes less dismissive. Posters lined the hallway. Equity is not charity, it's correction. Small placard. Beneath read, in honor of Dr. Alma Velasquez de Leon. Alma stepped into the lobby in a navy blazer and soft gray slacks. No uniform, no mop. A visitor badge pinned neatly to her lapel. She carried no cartonly, a folded program with her name printed in bold beside the words. Keynote: Human Rights in Corporate Systems. The executive floor doors slid open with the same mechanical hush as before. but this time she stepped through with her head held high, her heels clicked against the marble steady, resonant. Rows of chairs filled the transformed boardroom, now a makeshift auditorium. At the back, quietly seated, was Liam. No title, no assistants, just a pen. And notepad in his lap, Alma approached the podium. There were no teleprompters, no handlers. Just her and the mic. She let the silence breathe before she spoke. "I used to clean these windows," she began, voice calm but strong. "I used to wonder if anyone ever saw their own reflection." She scanned the room, executives, interns, students, reporters. Some nodded. Some lowered their gaze. "I was once told not to be a distraction, but invisibility is the most dangerous kind of distraction. It lets injustice pass unnoticed. It lets people confuse power with worth." She paused. "Let it land. I don't speak today for revenge. I speak to remind us what happens when we fail to listen, when we mistake silence for consent or presence, for permission." In the back, Liam's eyes stayed fixed on her, not with shame, but with reverence. This building is changing, but the work is just beginning. The floor above isn't built with marble and glass. It's built when those below rise not by invitation, but by right. Quiet hush fell. Then, slowly, applause rose, genuine, full-bodied, unforced. Alma stepped back, hands still steady. Later, as guests mingled and chairs were folded, she stood by the window she once polished every morning. Her reflection stared back, colder, unbent. Whole Maya approached from the side, sliding an arm around her. "You ready to go, Mama?" Alma smiled faintly. No rush. She looked down through the glass. She could see the cleaning staff arriving for the night shift. She raised a hand. "One." Woman looked up and nodded, surprised. This time Alma didn't look away. She had risen not above them, but beside them.